Hello and welcome back to Falcon Blues TV. Today me and Dave are joined by Kevin Campbell and Alan Myers. Lads, thanks for taking some time to come on.
Well,
you're welcome. Absolute legends of the club.
Yeah.
That's all that can be said.
I like the Dicky Ball, I must say.
Well,
Dicky Ball Friday for you.
Yeah.
Thursday for me.
There was one for me, but I've got a big neck. Well, I've got a big everything, like, so, you know. But I suppose we should start, Kev, with asking you what do you think of Everton's current form this season?
It's been like a roller coaster, hasn't it? If we're honest. Everton, they show themselves pretty well in some games. Some games they don't. Some games they don't turn up. But I think you got to expect that as part of the transition. You know, there's probably 4 or 5 managers, players, all amalgamated into one squad at the moment.
Sure.
And Marco Silva has got to really move and shake that squad. I think January's proven you can't take that into consideration anymore, because that isn't even really a window anymore. You've got to go summer to summer now, and I think this summer is probably one of the most important summers for Everton Football Club, with Marco Silva and Marcel Brands, in order to shape the squad. We've seen, that Chelsea game, first half Chelsea all over Everton, Everton dug in, some good saves from Pickford, etc. And then second half, that was Everton.
Yeah.
They brought the crowd into the game, and they performed, winning that game 2-0. And I think the feel-good factor was absolutely fantastic. Bit like the derby.
Yeah.
Everton performed at the derby, and didn't win the game, but they showed themselves. And I think against Chelsea, second half, they showed themselves. So it gives the fans a little bit more confidence, I think, moving forward, that actually, do you know what, we're going to be a little bit more patient.
Yeah. Well, we saw there in each game, so we've got Newcastle, Liverpool and more recently Chelsea, the best and the worst of Everton.
Full spectrum. Yeah.
What have we got to do to for that to happen for full 90 minutes?
I think what Marco Silva has to do, he's got to get his players in. Because remember, the squad still isn't his, as far as I'm concerned. He's brought some players in, and there was a steward's inquiry whether some of these players were good enough or not. Some of them were lacking match fitness because they'd been free transfers or whatever, or been at the World Cup. But I think it needs another window to actually start implementing and buying players, and then you're going to start to see this Everton team take shape. He knows what he wants, and I think everybody could see what he wants to do. He wants to press, he wants to play a fluid system, but he wants the team to defend better. And I think our defending has been a little bit poor at times this season. But when you defend like that against Chelsea and then you win the game 2-0, you think, well, they can do it. Yeah. But it's just that consistency.
Yeah, okay. Speaking of the summer transfer window, is there any type of player or position that you'd like to see Everton spend money on in the summer?
Al, do you want to go, or do you want to let Al go?
Bear in mind, this is going to be during the summer where you're going to get inundated on Twitter about who's signing who. Is he any good?
I'm going to be signing
I don't really care who they sign, as long as they sign him the first day of the window, so we can get it over with. No, but in all fairness, Kevin's right. This summer is huge. Now, the big thing for me, though, this summer is whether or not there's going to be that money there to go out and buy the big name players, the 50 millions, the 40, 50, 60 million pound players, where if you want to challenge the top 6, that's the market you're in. Whether you like it or not, that's the market you have to be in. Now, unless Everton, have to go out there, and this is where Marcel Brands will earn his money, he needs to go out there and find the players, that maybe like the Gomez's and people like that, who they can bring in, got the quality, can up the quality of the team. You talked about the defence. I don't think we've had a good defence since David Moyes left. I can't really say we've defended for a long period of time consistently well, since then. But this summer, Kevin's right. It's huge for Everton. Huge.
I need to see a striker.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone's wanting.
I need to see a striker. Whether we like it or not, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's doing a really good job of standing in there. He's a good young player. He's got a huge future. But you can't put the team on his back. No. I think it's unfair to put the team on his back. He's going to get his games, but Everton really need to spend some money and go and get that striker. Obviously, since Lukaku left, there's been that gap there. Fair enough, Cenk Tosun came in and he's done okay, But is he the answer? But I don't think he is, and I think that's unfortunate. I think he could do a job, but at a club like Everton, you'd need probably 3 or 4 strikers.
Sure.
So you need to spend some money and invest in a killer striker.
The thing for me is, you know, in a football team, there's 2 positions for me which you can't count on young players, and that's the goalkeeper and that's in the striker. Now the goalkeeper's doing okay. He's not had a great season, in fairness, but I think when he gets his basics right, and once he starts to understand and calm down, you know, a lot's happened to him since he's moved to here, you know, with England and World Cup and, you know, you name it, it's all happened to him. So you can understand all that. But the striker-wise as well, you cannot put that pressure on a young lad. And he would benefit so much with a Lukaku next to him, or someone like that who can score goals, and then put a few in himself and get up to 10 or 12 or whatever it is this season. And then he'll become a good striker. But, I mean, he's done well, you know.
He needs to learn off someone. He needs someone up there who we can learn off, get the tricks of the trade. And
you had Franny, didn't you?
Yeah, I had Franny. Jeffers Franny was helping me. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. And Danny Cad.
Yeah.
Danny Cad was helping
But
me
they were
as well.
young lads, weren't they? But you helped them. When you came in, they had that, and you see it click.
Yeah.
Because Franny knew he had a partner, knew where you were going to be.
His experience. With experience, it's easy to play with a young lad because you could just dovetail off each other.
Yeah.
But when 2 young lads play together, you tend to find that they're making the same runs, or you know, they don't know. All right, if Freddie goes long, I know I have to come short and stuff like that. So that is bread and butter for an older player, a more experienced player. Unfortunately, Everton are at a different stage right now. They've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin and they've got Cenk Tosun, who's a Turkish international, knows how to play. But it's that level above where you have to go. Look, it's going to cost money. It's going to cost quite a bit of money to get a proper striker in there. But I think having that mix will be pretty good.
Sure.
I think it's finding, and going back to the transfer window, as Al was saying, it's trying to sell the players that we don't want at the club anymore.
Somebody put a thing on, a caption on Twitter the other day, and it had all the players, every player that's out on loan, and it was 2 teams. It was 2 teams on a pitch,
big wages,
and it was incredible. And you just think, and that has to be. You have to go back to the season under Ronald Koeman, I think, and the way the buying was done, because we had all this money come from Farhad Moshiri all of a sudden, and I think everybody went out and just started to spend money like they were in some sort of massive sweet shop, you know. And it was wrong. Listen, I don't know, I'm not trying to push blame on any one particular person, because it's a collective thing when you're buying players, but that was the problem for me. And now you're having to, not only did they not perform and they weren't good enough, those players, now you're having to deal with getting rid of them.
Al, I think as well, the issue was Koeman done alright. Koeman was on the up. So when you're buying, when your team's on the up and then you start buying players, you see them just slotting in. But once things start to go bent, all of a sudden the players, geez, I'm in the spotlight, because look, let's have it right. Everton's a huge club, and when these people come to Everton, they don't realise how big the club is until they're actually in it. And when times are getting tough and you're in at a big club, that pressure's on your shoulders. It really is. So it's gonna take. Maybe there might have to be some haircuts on some players. You know, the club might have to get serious and say, you know what, we're gonna have to cut our losses on some of these guys, in order to get them off the wage bill and to bring the quality and the likes of the lads that Marcel Brands and Marcus Silva are targeting, because having 2 teams isn't healthy if they're not good enough.
It reminded me of when Spurs sold Bale and they sort of seen a big influx in players, and then a lot of those players didn't really work out. I think the only ones that stayed was Eriksen and Lamella.
It was like we signed a load of number 10s. Spurs had pretty much bought a midfield every week. You know, you can fill a midfield 10 times over the amount they had. But going back to what you were saying, Kev, about responsibility and stepping up, when you came to the club, when did it dawn on you, like, I'm at Everton, and this, you know, and the problems that we were facing, you know, the relegation battles that we were almost in, when did it dawn on you that it's like, this is my responsibility, this is big?
No, you got to
feel that way.
Yeah, but no, it's different to that. Remember, my background is the Big 6. So for me, Everton were always up there. I made my debut at Goodison Park. Everton have always been a massive club. So once I heard there was 4 teams interested in me and Everton, if Everton were the first name, I said that's where I'm going. So I knew the enormity of it. I knew who were playing it because I was keeping in touch with what was going on. Playing Danny Cad and Franny up front. When I look at the whole squad, I looked at the team and I look at the squad, there's so much experience in there.
Sure.
So for me it was just like, if I could get myself in there, I know we could do something because there's experience all over the pitch. No, Goffin wasn't there at the time. It was Waggy, it was Marco Materazzi, Shorty, Waggy, Dave Unsworth, and Davey Ware was playing wing back, wasn't he?
That's right,
And that, you know, but you look at the players who were there, Olivia Decor and all those, I'm thinking, my God, it's a fantastic squad. It's just up top where you're lacking. It didn't quite work out for Ibs, Ibi and Bakayoko. Didn't quite work out for him. So, you know, they were going with young English lads who were going to work hard and try. So that's what I saw. The enormity of it, I knew. Everton, they can't go down, man. They're too big a club to go down. So it dawned on me from the moment I was on my way over.
Walter Smith certainly had a keen eye for talent when you were there, Kev. I mean, like you just mentioned, Oliver Decor, Marco Materazzi, David Weir was signed for 250 grand. Richard Goff on a free for 1 year was great. And I don't think he gets enough credit. Sometimes he bought Gravison for quite on the cheap. Alan Stubbs on a free. So yeah, I think Walter Smith should have got a medal for keeping Everton up at times. Especially with the constrictions of under the board at the time. Obviously we'd seen players leave before you come like Ferguson. But yeah, I always thought he had a good eye for talent.
Yeah, look, I think Walter Smith, what he'd done, he took a lot of the onus off Peter Johnson.
Yeah, sure.
Because he was promised some things. You know, he was promised some things that he didn't get.
Sure.
But he never made a big song and dance about it.
No.
You know, and at times he got some stick when he could have easily, you know, put Peter Johnson out to pasture, couldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember having a conversation with Walter. You know, we were stood in Belfield and we were looking out the window, and he said to me, we can't keep doing this, you know, we can't keep doing what we're doing, surviving, you know, we need to start investing in the squad, and you know, and he was right, and you could see that it was starting to happen, you know, and it was starting to, you could only keep doing it so long, if you know what I mean, you know, but you had to keep freshening it up, and then, of course, you know, after that season, when we had all that, there was no money being spent, and then that was the change, really, and I think then, you know, obviously things happened, so, but it was difficult, it was a difficult time.
When they sold all my midfield.
Yeah.
All my supply line got sold.
Yeah.
So you know, which you imagine you need oxygen to live, and you're sucking in all this oxygen and you're happy, and then all of a sudden you're gasping for air because the whole midfield got sold.
Yeah, sure.
The whole supply line. Tommy Gravison came in and Alex Nyarko came in. They didn't know me, I didn't know them, and that was supposed to be my supply line. So you know, it was a bit of a shock, but. You know, Tommy worked out, didn't he? He was a good player, but
Alex had a problem, didn't he?
Alex had issue. Yeah, he struggled
good
because.
Player, but
listen, he's a good player.
Just didn't work.
But it just didn't work. And you know, when players look at the Premier League from outside, I could play, man. You know, I could do that. But once you get here, it's a totally different kettle of fish.
Speaking of Mr. Gravison, he's recently had a book come out, and quite a few tales about him that come out with, like, Lee Carsley mentioned he found a broken pipe at Belfield and decided to use it to fire fireworks at some of the players. Have you got any stories about
no, I will not. I will not speak about that man. No, I really got on with Tommy.
You couldn't get on to him with Tommy, could you? He was mad as a hatter.
He was mad as a hatter.
You know, he used to come in a little 600 weight van to train, and everybody else. Do you remember?
I mean, do you remember at one stage he had a Porsche, he had an F-150 pickup, and he had a X5 5.0. This was 6 months towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Got back from pre-season, he was in a green Nissan Micra. He'd sold a lot and was in and he was giving it plenty out. All the tunes were pumping out this Micra. But that's Tommy. That sums him up. You know, he was
I should have known really. On the day he joined, everyone else was out in Choco in Italy, and Belfield was closed really. But I was supposed to meet him down there because he needed to get some kit. and one of the assistant kit men who hadn't gone to Italy, you know. So I met him, and we used to do club call in those days. And I said, "Oh, Micro, I said, I want to do a quick interview before you go for your flight, you know, because I dropped him off the airport." So I said, and in the interview I said, "What did you know about Everton? What do you know about Everton coming here, you know?" And he said, "I know they have the greatest goal scorer of all time is Dean Dickinson, you know." And it's the only time I've ever laughed in front of a player's face, you know, because I mean, I don't know who Dean Dickinson was, but anyway, I think he did a antiques programme a bit later on, I'm not quite sure.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so a few games remaining in the Premier League this season. Predictions for the remainder of the season, how well we can do. There are some very difficult games coming up.
Well, I'll let Kev have the last word. I put something out on my Twitter account a few weeks ago after the Watford game, I think it was, and I said we'd finish on 48 points, and I got absolutely slaughtered all night. You know, people said no, and I'm on track now. I've got the exact same the points that I predicted. Okay, I had it switched around with Chelsea and Newcastle, but I've got the same points that I said at the time, and I don't see any reason why we can't get the points that I thought we'd get at that point.
For me, it's about performances. It really is. I think results sometimes can cloud the judgment. Yeah. Because if you win and you play poor, you accept it. But you know, there's a saying in football: don't accept what you would in a defeat in a win. Because if you win and you play poorly, you've got to look at the details and why you played poorly. So for me, it's about the performances. Second half against Chelsea, they performed. First half, they performed defensively, which is welcoming as well. So you know, it's going to be really interesting how, obviously after the break, international break and stuff, how they get back. But I see Everton doing pretty well. I think Everton against the bigger teams do better. And against the teams where the pressure's on them to win the game, it's a lot more difficult. So I think Everton have finished pretty strong.
Great stuff.
If you had to pick a player of the season now, was there anyone that comes to mind that jumps out to you?
No.
Player of the season.
Maybe Michael Keane for me.
Yeah, I was just about to say Michael Keane. I think the transition he's done. When really last season it was
tough season from last year.
Well, it was tough, but you know, you're thinking to yourself, you know, would he adjust to the club? You know, he's come from Burnley to Everton. He's been at Man United, but he has not really played there. You know, can he adjust to Everton? But I think he's been. If he's not player of the season, he's been the most improved player.
Yeah, definitely. You know, with that defence we've had, which has to constantly chop and change. Between Mina and
Zuma. Maybe Richarlison has been as consistent as anybody as well. So I think it will be probably between those two. Siggy, I think, has had a good season as well.
Look at Dean for me. He's done a bit really well. Tough boots to fill as well, coming out of the late veins and
good point.
But I'll still say those three myself. I think Luke Steve's had a good season, but Richarlison, you know, with the pressure of coming to Everton with that price tag on him. Keane, obviously after last season, he's settled down and he looks a player now, which is fantastic. And Sigurdsson, I think he's scored some wonderful goals and he's held that midfield together at times.
Okay guys, that wraps it up. So for now, Kev, you're going to join us for an evening with a fair amount of Evertonians there tonight. Hopefully you'll be excited. Alan the same. Until then, we'll see you after the West Ham game. Up the Toffees in a bit.